There's a call for a gun, I see it everywhere. Everybody's running scared. Everything is turning upside down. If you tell me I hear a heat coming through from deep inside of me and you, it's telling you that love is who I am. Love is who I am. You and me were not that far apart. Yeah, we're beating the same heart. We've been together from the start. Tell me, can you hear it? Can you hear it? Tell me, can you feel it? Put your arms around it and know that we are one. Welcome to A Course of Love. Welcome to A Course of Love. Yeah. Now let's come together and understand that Christ was born inside of every man. He's helping toward us to choose him as ourselves. If you choose him, you know you choose me too. Everyone becomes a part of you, and then you know that love is who I am. You and me were not that far apart. Yeah, we're beating the same heart. We've been together from the start. Tell me, can you hear it? Tell me, can you feel it? Put your arms around it and know that we are one. Welcome to A Course of Love. I'm Earl Purdy. And I'm so glad that you're here with me. You need not believe the ideas. You need not accept the ideas. You need not even welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas are going to be hard to believe, and some are going to be quite startling. But you're not asked to analyze and judge the ideas at all. It is the use of the ideas. It's using the ideas that will show you that the ideas are true. Using the ideas will show you that the ideas are true. Welcome to A Course of Love. You and me were not that far apart. Yeah, we're beating the same heart. We've been together from the start. Yes, we have. Tell me, can you hear it? Can you hear it? Tell me, can you feel it? Put your arms around it and know that we are one. See, send some hearts out to each other. Let's send some hearts out to each other right now. We are one. We are one. Send some hearts out to each other. Let's send some love to each other. I am you. I am you. And you are me. I am so glad to be here with you this evening. Hello, I'm Earl Purdy, and I want to welcome you. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you for the love. I want to welcome you to A Course of Love. The Course of Love opens your heart, the way the Course in Miracles corrects your perception in your mind. The Course of Love is working with joining your mind and your heart. And tonight, I'm so glad to see you here. I love that you come and join me live. I know that you can watch the repost, and that's great. But there's an energy that we have when we're all here together live. I know you feel it, and I feel it. Because it means that we're together in real time, that this is actually happening right now. You're joining with other mighty companions right now. I want to absolutely say hello to Shanae and CJ and Deborah and Marlette. I want to say hello to Rita, Cheryl, Jesse, and I want to say hello to Steve, and I want to say hello to Stella, and all the rest of you that are online right now live. And know that we are one. And in A Course of Love, we're going to be starting out chapter 24, page 160. Chapter 24, page 160. In A Course of Love. In A Course of Love. The time of tenderness. I really want to share what my purpose is. One of my purposes in doing the Course of Love and going through this, hopefully that you have the book. Because it's really about hearing this. And my focus really is on saying this in a way that you will hear it. And hopefully in a way and with the clarity you've never heard it before. I'm not here to analyze. I'm not here to debate. I'm not here to try to change a person's mind. I'm not here to try to make you get over your resistance, because either you are open and receptive to it or you're not. Either you're going to keep on focusing in on it, even if resistance comes up, or you're not. And it's okay, because we are all going to make it back home. So it's never any question as to whether or not you're going to end up in joy and happiness one day. So chapter 24, the time of tenderness, which I call the tot, the time of tenderness. It says, chapter 24, paragraph 1. Chapter 24, paragraph 1. We're going to be at chapter 24, paragraph 1. When you have learned where you have learned to hate, that's where you're going to learn to love. You're going to learn to love where you learn to hate. So wherever you are hating, that's where you're going to learn to love. And you're going to learn safety. You're going to learn how to be safe where you learn to fear. So wherever you are afraid, that's where you're going to learn safety. Where you learned to distrust, you will learn trust where you learned distrust. And each learning experience will be a learning experience, because the learning experience will touch your heart. So to me, that's a very powerful point, that a learning experience doesn't really become a learning experience until it touches your heart. You really learn something when whatever that is touches your heart. And it could be as simple as a smile from a child that melts away all the resentment that you've held from your childhood. And what melts away the resentment is that you allowed the smile to touch your heart. So it may be a time of weepiness, and what you would term emotionalism. You may feel as if everything makes you want to cry, because everything will touch you. Each lesson will feel tender. That's what we mean by a time of tenderness. In a time of tender learning, what's happening is it's moving you emotionally. It may even make you cry. It may even make you weep. It may melt your heart. But a learning that's not touching your heart is a learning that you're not learning. A learning that's not touching your heart is a learning you're not learning. That's why I tell people, if you're studying some spiritual path, if you're studying this book, if you're listening to this book and it's not touching your heart, if you're trying to learn a curriculum that's not touching your heart, and you may call it emotionalism, then that's not something that you're truly learning. So I'm really looking forward to sharing with you, because you love A Course of Love and it touches your heart just like it touches my heart, because that means we're learning. Unlearning has no harshness about it. So if you are unlearning what you've learned that's caused you pain, it has no harshness about it. If you simply allow the unlearning to come, then there's no harshness about it. When you allow unlearning to come, it will reward you constantly with what can best be described as tenderness. So really, unlearning fear, unlearning the things that we learned about ourselves, that we're not loving, that we're not supportive, those things, you should be learning how to undo those things in a tender way, not in a harsh way. This path is a tender path. This path is not a harsh path. So in paragraph 2 in chapter 24, it says, the time to resist tenderness is over. It's time for you to stop resisting having a tender life. It's time for you, Raj, to stop resisting having a gentle, loving life. And I call my name when I'm teaching, because you know something? I know first and foremost that I'm the one that's learning this. And I'm teaching it because I want to learn it, and I'm doing it live because I want to join with others like myself that want to learn it. So when it says the time to resist tenderness is over, when it says the time to resist the tears of weariness is over, then that means this is the time of the embrace. You're finally at a point on your spiritual path that you love yourself enough to let the learning be tender, to let the learning be without weariness. That's how much you've grown. That's how much you love yourself. You love yourself so much that you have attracted a teaching called A Course of Love that is very tender, that touches your heart, that helps you unlearn in a way that's gentle and beautiful and loving. So this is the time of the embrace. This is the time of the embrace. Don't forget to communicate with each other, but I would invite you to communicate with each other about what we are going over, so that we can all stay focused in on the purpose of us coming together, which is A Course of Love. These feelings of tenderness can be seen as a sign. So when you're having feelings of tenderness, let your feelings of tenderness alert you that unlearning is taking place. Unlearning is taking place. How do I know unlearning is taking place? Unlearning is taking place because I'm beginning to feel tender. I'm beginning to feel my heart melt. So welcome these feelings of tenderness as harbingers of good news. The fact that we're learning tenderly with each other now, that's good news. Know that the time of tenderness is a sure path on the way home. The time of tenderness is your certain path on the way home. That means that if you're really listening to the Christ consciousness, the love consciousness, if you're really listening and following the way of the heart, then you should be experiencing more tenderness in your experience. It says in paragraph 4, chapter 24, the time of tenderness precedes the time of peace and is the forerunner of compassion. So before you have peace, before you have compassion, you will experience a time of tenderness. The time of tenderness is thus the final learning ground. Before accomplishment is complete, the time of tenderness is the final learning ground. So don't you think that that means that if we are at the time of learning, the period of learning that is tender and heart-filled and loving, it means that you and I are at the final learning point. We're in the final learning ground. We're right at the end. We are close to achievement. How do we know we're close to achievement? We know we're close to achievement because it just said that the time of tenderness is the final learning ground before accomplishment is complete. The learning that occurs during the time of tenderness is the learning from love. So when you're in the time of tenderness, when you're in the last stage before you achieve awakening to who you really are, you will be learning in a tender way. And there's only one way to learn in a tender way. And the one way to learn in a tender way is learning from love. So we're going to learn from love now. You're going to learn from freedom now. You're going to learn from a place of love, and you're going to learn from a place of freedom now. No lessons, it says next, no lessons learned without love touch your heart. So any lesson that you learn in fear doesn't touch your heart. Any lesson that you learn in guilt or through being threatened to be punished, any lesson that you learn through guilt, anger, fear, any lesson that you learn through pain, that's not a lesson that's touching your heart. And don't forget that we were told that a lesson that touches your heart is going to be a lesson that you learn. And a lesson that doesn't touch your heart is a lesson you're not learning. So no lessons that do not touch your heart will accomplish anything. Don't forget to remember that if it's not touching your heart, it's not accomplishing anything. Sometimes you meet people who can quote wisdom texts word for word, but they don't touch your heart. They have memorized, I'm sure there are people that have memorized A Course of Love and could quote and every sentence on this page to me. But that doesn't necessarily mean they've learned it. If it's not coming from the heart, if it's not touching my heart, if it's not coming from their heart, then there's no real learning happening. So the purpose of the final lessons are both unlearning and moving through unlearning to new learning. So you are unlearning, you are moving through unlearning, and you are moving toward new learning. There are three things that you and I are doing tonight. We are unlearning, we are moving through unlearning, and we are learning a new learning. Now, these learnings, these lessons must be accomplished in life and require an engagement with life. So, does that mean that if I try to withdraw from life, become a recluse, don't interact, don't extend, don't join, then I'm not going to learn my lessons as fast. He says these lessons must be accomplished in life and require an engagement with life. This engagement is a promise. So when we talk about engaging in life, we're talking about you're willing to make a commitment. So you're engaging in your life. You're engaging in these teachings in the course of love. That's you making a promise to make a commitment. To make a commitment to a course of love. A commitment to your awakening. A commitment to forgiving. A commitment to seeing correctly. A commitment to seeing with spirit. That requires participation, involvement, attention, and being present. So in this gathering that you and I are in right now, in order for us to really get the most out of this time together, first of all, we've got to allow this to touch our heart, because we've already been told that you're not going to learn anything if you don't let it touch your heart. The next thing that we were told is that it requires you to become engaged. So in order to wake up to the love that you are, to have the kind of happy life that you've always wanted to have, and a recognition of your true spiritual identity, then you're going to have to become engaged. And engagement is a commitment. Engagement is a commitment. Engagement, commitment, requires participation, involvement, attention, and being present. So you could also say these are the rules to having really successful relationships. If you're going to have a really successful relationship, then it's going to require what? It's going to require that that relationship and the person in that relationship touch your heart. It's going to require that you learn from each other in a tender way. It's going to require that you make a commitment and that you engage in the relationship with each other. And this engagement is a promise. This engagement is a commitment. So a commitment requires what? Participation, involvement, attention, and being present. So if we're going to learn together tonight, it's going to require participation, involvement, attention, and being present. If you're going to have a successful relationship with someone, it's going to require commitment, participation, involvement, attention, and being present. If you're going to have a relationship that's out of this world, that's awesome, the best thing you've ever had in your life, it's going to require engagement, and engagement requires commitment, and commitment requires participation, involvement, attention, and being present. These are the lessons with which we will conclude. So are there any questions or any comments about what I've covered so far? Please limit your questions to specifically understanding what we are reading and what we're talking about. Because the purpose of my class is to help you hear what the course of love is saying and trying to teach. I want to thank Jan for coming online, Dharma, Peter. We got a lot of people that's coming online tonight. June, Cassandra, thank you for being online. Elizabeth, thank you for joining us. Tamsin, thank you for joining us. Peter, thank you for joining us. So are there any questions about what I've already covered? Okay, if I don't see any, I can't answer them. And that's okay. I mean, if you don't have any and you just want to listen and focus in on what it's saying, I totally get you. I feel exactly the same way. What we're going to look at now is in chapter 25. Chapter 25 is called Devotion as a Type of Participation. This is one heck of a section. It's on page 161. Page 161 in A Course of Love. It's called Devotion. Devotion as a type of participation. Yeah, Jesse. Good to have you online. Shanae, good to have you online. Jesse says, I like the line, the time to resist the tears of weariness is over. The time to resist the tears of weariness is over. And that's what time it is. It's time to resist being weary. We're in the final stage. We're in the stage that we learn through love and we learn through tenderness. And then Dharma says devotion is a type of participation. That's the name of the chapter. Devotion is a type of participation. This is a beautiful, powerful section. I can't wait to go through it. Chapter 25, paragraph 1. It says, to devote yourself to an objective is a vow to accomplish. Okay, so right now I'm going to devote myself to the objective of love by saying to you that I vow to accomplish. Saying to myself, I vow to accomplish. I would invite you to say to yourself right now, I vow to accomplish. To be devoted is to be prayerful. To be devoted is to be prayerful. As we said in the beginning, what is praying? To pray is to ask for all to be included in what you do. So a real prayer is a prayer that includes everything and everybody. A real prayer is a prayer that includes everything and everybody. So that would mean, don't you think, an unreal prayer would be a prayer that only includes you. So an unreal prayer is a prayer that's all about you, and a real prayer is a prayer that's all about us. Okay, so devotion is thus our first lesson. Our first lesson in what? In learning how to be engaged in life during the time of tenderness. So we are about to learn how to be engaged in life during this time of tenderness. And we were also told that this requires what? Commitment, participation, involvement, attention, being present. Participate, be involved, give it your attention, be present. This group right now, those of us together, what we are to do is to make a commitment with each other. And that commitment requires participation, involvement, attention, and being present with each other right now. Devotion is a type of participation. So devotion is thus our first lesson in learning how to be engaged in life during this time of tenderness. So paragraph 2, chapter 25 says, devotion is the outcome of love. So I'm not going to be devoted to you if I don't love you. Devotion is the outcome of love. And in this instant, devotion is an action word. That means devotion is a verb. It's a means of serving. Devotion is a means of serving, and devotion is a means of being served by love. So actually, devotion is a particular kind of participation. Devotion cannot be faked. You can't fake devotion, but you can practice devotion. You cannot fake devotion. Devotion is a type of participation, and a type of participation is devotion, and you can't fake devotion, but you can practice devotion. Paragraph 3, chapter 25 says, "You, dear children, have faked your way through much of life." I'm not to break it to you, but you've been faking it. You have faked confidence when you were really uncertain. You have faked interest when you really felt indifferent. You have faked knowledge of things that you don't know a doggone thing about. But those who have tried to fake love cannot do it. You can't fake love. You might be able to fake a lot of things, but the one thing you can't do is you can't fake love. And you also can't fake devotion. The same thing is true of devotion. You can't fake love, you can't fake devotion. And do you want to know why you can't fake love? Do you want to know why you can't fake devotion? Because there is no real devotion without love. If you don't love me, you can't be devoted to me. If you don't love me, you're going to feel like everything that you do is a sacrifice, that you're losing. It doesn't make you feel happy. If you're trying to be devoted to someone or something and you don't love it, then it's fake devotion, and it certainly will not feel tender, and it certainly won't feel loving, and you certainly won't learn anything through the experience. So in paragraph 4, chapter 25, it says, love cannot be faked. And do you know why love can't be faked? The reason why love can't be faked is because you really know love. Nobody can fool you, because there's a part of you that absolutely knows what love is. And the reason why there's a part of you that knows what love is because you are love. Since you are love, there's a part of you that knows exactly what love is. So nobody can really ultimately fake you out, Raj. You recognize love. Mighty companion, you recognize love. Nobody can really fake you out when it comes to love. And because you know love, you immediately feel any kind of imitation of love. You may choose to deny the feeling, but you can't prevent it from happening. You can attempt to earn the love of those from whom you desire. You can try to earn somebody's love. You can attempt to buy somebody's love. You can attempt to change for somebody's love. You can attempt to change for somebody's love. You can attempt to capture love, but you really can't do any of that. Love is always here. Love is always present. Love is here right now. Love is here right now. Love is here right now. Between you and me, love is here right now. Love. So what we need to do, since love is here right now, we need to take a minute to let us spend a moment considering this contradiction. What contradiction? Well, how can love always be present when you can undeniably feel each and every absence of love? It seems like a contradiction to tell me that love is present when I know when I'm not feeling love. Well, the problem is not in the perceived. The problem is in the perceiver. The problem is in me. It's not in what I'm looking at. The problem is in me. It's not in who I'm looking at. If I feel like there's no love happening, the problem isn't in the person I'm looking at. If I feel like there's no real love happening, the problem is not in the situation or the person that I'm looking at. The problem is in the perceiver, not the perceived. So what does that mean to say that the problem is in you and not in what you're looking at? That the problem is in you and not the person you're looking at if you don't really feel love? Well, each time you feel, now get this, what you and I are being told. Each time you feel a lack of love, it's coming from inside yourself. Whenever you feel a lack of love, it's coming from inside yourself. This lack of love or fake love, of which you cannot help but be aware, fake love, the lack of love, is a signal to you that you want something. Ooh, that hurt, that hurt, that hurt. So let me hear that. Whenever I feel like I'm not being loved, whenever I feel like there's a lack of love, it means I want something. It's something I'm trying to get. Whenever I feel like there's a lack of love, it means I want something. It means that I'm trying to get something. when you become aware that you want something, it says you are also becoming aware that you feel you lack something. So don't you know that whenever you lack something, that's what's making you want something? Whenever you feel like you lack something, that's what's making you want something. So if I want something, it's because I feel like I'm lacking something. All feelings of lack are always synonymous with feelings of fear, Raj. When you are afraid, you are feeling like something is lacking. When you are afraid, you are feeling like something is lacking. Whenever you are afraid, you are feeling like something is missing, okay? Where there is fear, and that feeling that something is missing, that feeling is fear. So fear is the feeling that something is missing. Fear is the feeling that something is missing. Fear is the feeling that something is lacking. When I'm feeling fear, I'm feeling like something is missing, something is lacking. All feelings of lack are synonymous with feelings of fear. Where there is fear, love is hidden. So if I'm afraid, I'm saying love is hidden from me right now. I feel afraid. Love is hidden from me right now. I'm afraid in this relationship. That means love is hidden in this relationship. Wherever there is fear, there is hidden love. Love is rejected when a choice for fear is made. Every time I choose to fear, I am simultaneously rejecting love. So you cannot be without love. It is not possible that love isn't present right now in your life. It is not possible that there is not love in your life right now. It is not possible that there is not love in the life of everyone around you. What's happening is you are rejecting love. That person is rejecting love. Wherever it looks like there is no love, it's where you are rejecting love. It's not where love is rejecting you. So when you reject love, love is hidden from you because receiving completes giving. So what does that mean? It means each of your brothers and sisters are in violet love. You are in violet love. I am in violet love. What each gives is incomplete until it is received. I'm wanting to give you love. It's not complete until you receive it and let yourself receive it. You are wanting to give me love. It's not complete until I allow myself to receive it. So paragraph 6, chapter 25 says, when you feel a lack of love in others, you have projected your fear onto others. When you feel a lack of love in others, you have projected your fear onto others. When you feel a lack of love from another person, you have projected your fear on that other person. It's only when you cease to project your fear will you feel true devotion. When I stop immediately distrusting you, fearing you, doubting you, judging you, then I will feel true devotion to you. So let's see what comments that we have right now, which is this is some good stuff. Jesse says fear equals something is missing. Dharma says all feeling of lack are synonymous of fear. Peter says fear is not real. Dharma says again, fear doesn't exist. CJ says fear is the feeling that something is lacking. When I'm feeling fear, I'm feeling something is lacking. Yes, CJ. Dharma says love is here now. Peter says love is all there is. Dharma says spirit doesn't reject love. And CJ says every time I choose to fear, I am rejecting love. Whoa. Dharma says that's right. Peter says bliss. Bliss in, bliss out. Jesse says this is so powerful. That's right. That's right. We are joining and we are reinforcing this in each other. So, chapter 25, paragraph 7 says, when you feel lack of love, when you're feeling a lack of love, then what you're feeling is as if the other is giving you nothing. So when you feel a lack of love, it means that you're feeling like nobody's giving you anything. That's what it feels like. Yet what you're really feeling is your lack of ability to receive. So let me get this straight. When I don't feel like I'm loved because I feel like somebody's not giving me love, it's really my lack of ability to receive that's causing me to feel like I'm not receiving any love. It is my incapacity to receive that's making me feel like somebody else or something is not giving me love. It's my inability to receive and accept love that's making me think that I don't have love. So the practice of devotion is a means by which you can purify your engagement with life and all you encounter within life. And so devotion means that I'm going to render a true service to you. And if I'm willing to render a true service to you, then this is going to purify my engagement to life, and this is going to purify all my encounters in life when I'm ready to render a true service to you. True service doesn't look for what somebody else has to give or what somebody else has that you might use. So true service doesn't have anything to do with me really focusing on what you have to give me. True service is not really based on the focus being on what you have to give me or what you have that I might be able to use. So what is true service? True service recognizes God's law of giving and receiving. And true service recognizes the practice of devotion is, in effect, the practice of devotion is the practice of allowing giving and receiving to be one. So the practice of devotion is you allowing giving and receiving to be one. That means it's a time of tenderness. A true practice that, like vigilance, is a means to a desired end. What does that mean? What I'm saying is you must practice recognizing your feelings of lack of love. You must practice recognizing your feelings of fear. And then you must realize your fearful feelings are coming from your inability to receive. Your fear is coming from your inability to receive. So you need to do this practice until this practice is no longer needed. So what is the practice that you need to do, Raj, until that practice is no longer needed? The practice of recognizing your feelings of lack of love. So practice recognizing your fear. Practice recognizing you are afraid. Practice recognizing your feelings of lack of love is you practicing recognizing your fear, which is kind of funny when you think about it, because the one thing that we tend to be the most aware of, if we're honest with ourselves, is when we're feeling afraid. So we're being told, recognize when you're feeling afraid. That's a practice that's going to help you overcome your inability to receive. There's a link between overcoming your inability to receive and recognizing that you're afraid. So don't feel ashamed because you recognize you are afraid. Don't feel like you're perpetuating negativity because you're willing to recognize that you are afraid. Understand that in a course of love, our curriculum, to recognize that we are afraid is the way that we eventually come to true devotion. Now, devotion is inclusive. That's the number one thing. Devotion is inclusive. That means devotion implies that there's a subject and then there's an object. I am devoted, so I must be devoted to something. One who is devoted and one who is an object of devotion, while we are moving away from subject-object relationships to the relationship of unity, the idea of one who is devoted and of those for whom devotion is practiced is useful during the time of tenderness. So the idea of you being devoted and you having someone or something you're devoted to, that's a very useful experience in the time of tenderness, because seeing yourself as devoted, it will lead to the understanding of oneness. Oneness as completion and understanding of giving and receiving as one. So how do you recognize that giving and receiving are one? You recognize that giving and receiving are one through being devoted. So there must be the devotion and the devotee. Devotion leads to harmony. Devotion leads through harmony, but devotion leads through harmony through action. So this is possible for you now. What is possible for you now? devotion through action. This is possible for you now only if you have integrated the most basic teachings of this course and you are no longer feeling duped by life. Okay. So devotion leads to harmony through action. Harmony through action. Devotion is possible for you now, but you have to integrate the basic teachings. You have to be at the point that you're no longer being duped and that you're being fooled. All of your contests of will are supported by your contention that you have been misled. It is as if you have paid for your ticket, arrived at the concert, and have been told that your ticket is not valid. And this makes you angry. Now, this anger is reenacted in thousands of different scenarios in your life. Anger is being reenacted in thousands of different scenarios in your life every day, day after day, year after year. It's going to be repeated. The anger and upset is going to be repeated day after day and year after year until you realize and truly believe the basic tenets this course has put forward. So what are we being told? Okay, what I'm being told right now is that nothing's going to change until I believe the basic tenets of what my path is telling me. That nothing's going to change until I start believing what I'm hearing right now. Nothing's going to change until I truly believe what I'm being taught right now. So I can't have the change that I want to have if I'm not actually accepting as true the things that I am hearing right now. Ultimately, to get the result, you don't have to believe the ideas, but ultimately to get the results of these ideas, you have to believe these ideas. But you don't have to. But to get the results, you have to. So to be in concert, just as to perform a concert, is contingent on harmony. Being in concert and performing in concert must be in harmony. What does that mean? It means it's being in agreement about the purpose for which you are here and your entitlement to be fully present here. So what is that saying? It's saying that in order for us to do this in harmony, or to do the truth in harmony, you have to be in agreement about the purpose for which you are here, but you also have to be in agreement about the fact that you are entitled to be here. You are entitled to exist. You are entitled to be here. Then it says, if you still believe you are here to acquire some perceived ideal separated state, then all action will be out of harmony. So what will cause all of your action to be out of harmony? If you believe that you're still here to be separate, if you still think you're here just to be special, if you still think you're here just to get all of the attention and the worship, then if you still believe that, your actions are going to still be out of harmony, Raj. If you believe that it's all about you being special, then your actions are going to be out of harmony. If you believe that it's all about you being separate and all about you being different, then you and I, mighty companion, we're going to be out of harmony. Then it says, if, however, you have accepted the basic tenets of this course, and that means that you believe you are here to realize unity. That's the basic tenet of A Course of Love, is that you are here to realize unity. You are here to join. You are here to recognize oneness. If you believe you and your brothers and sisters, if you believe that you and your brothers and sisters are here in a state of reprisal, if you believe that you're here because somehow you are bad and you've fallen from grace, if you believe that you are here because it's some form of punishment, then all of your action is going to be out of harmony if you believe that you've somehow fallen from grace, if you believe that there's something about you that's not beautiful and whole and complete, then that's when all your actions are going to be out of harmony. If you believe you and all other living things are here in a state of grace, if you believe that you and everybody else, that we're all here in a state of grace, then all action will be in harmony. If you believe that we're all here out of a state of grace and in a state of love, then all your actions are going to be in harmony. If you believe that you're here because you're bad, not good, sinful, not enough, any of that, then all of your actions are going to be out of harmony. If you believe one living thing is more important than another, if you believe one living thing is more important than another living thing, then all of your action is going to be out of harmony. If you believe that one person is any more important than any other person, then all of your actions are going to be out of harmony. I mean, when I thought about that, I thought about our relationships, our special love relationships. Don't you think it's interesting that our special love relationships are based on the idea of this is the most important person and that this person is more important than any other person? So believing that the person that you're with is any more important than any other person is actually out of harmony according to what we're hearing. Believing that any person is any more important than any other person is to be out of harmony with true love. If you believe all are essential, if you believe that everybody in your life is essential, if you believe, Raj, that everybody in your life is equally important to your awakening and to your healing, then everything you're going to do is going to be in harmony because you're going to be honoring every single person that you're with, and you're going to be seeing each person that you're with as being vitally important in your life and just as important as anybody else in your life. Wow. So let's see what we have here. Dharma says all are essential. CJ says devotion is inclusion. Peter says trust is the biggest hurdle. Dharma says again, all are equal. Keith has come online. I want to say welcome, Keith. Shanae says, oh snap, all the depressive moments I had in childhood were linked to my desire to be special. Hearing it's so hard. And Dharma says, Shanae, keep hearing. Life-changing course. That's so true. And Jerry says, yes, we were born, so we earned a ticket for the ride. No one is here by accident. I totally agree with you. Peter says, you're here to be self-realized. Leslie says, I used to think that fear meant, I don't know exactly what it's all of that saying, but anyway, he changed his perception. Leslie changed her perception of what fear was, and she said that she thought it was run from that until now. You have to bear with me because again, I'm dealing with what everybody has typed, and sometimes it's not as clear as I would like for it to be. But I love that you're doing it, so don't stop. And Dharma says, serve the one. And CJ says, I am entitled to exist. Wow, that struck me. How much of our lives is limited by a belief that we don't deserve to exist? And Dharma says, I'm here to serve. And Dharma says, I'm entitled to exist. So we are by me hearing this and saying this back to me, to myself, what you have written, that is our devotion. I'm devoted to you. I honor what you are saying to me because it's just as important as what I'm saying to you. And I know that trust is hard, but if we already knew how to do it, June, bless you, beautiful one. If you already knew how to do it, there would be no need for us to be studying these books and to be on the path that we're on. And so it's okay that trust as we have learned trust to do it is what's hard. Trust isn't hard. Trust as we have learned trust is hard based on what we've experienced in the past. But I certainly hear you. Everyone is important. I certainly hear you. So I hear you, June. I feel you. Okay, so let's go to paragraph 11 in chapter 25. Let's go to paragraph 11. While one special relationship continues, all special relationships continue because all special relationships are given validity. So as long as I think that there's even one special relationship that I have, that the person that I'm with is more important than anybody else, which is not true. Everybody's equally important to everybody else for our healing. Then I'm still going to continue with the validation of acting out of harmony. Because whenever I'm acting out of harmony, I am making one person more important to me than any other person. The holy relationship is a relationship of unity. And that relationship depends on the release of the beliefs that foster special relationships. So to believe you are in concert with the universe, to believe that you're finally in agreement with the universe, Raj, it actually means that you believe that you have no need for struggle. So you are in harmony with the universe when you start to believe that there's no need for you to struggle. There's no need for you to struggle. There's no need for you to struggle. There's no need to struggle. There's no need for you to struggle. There's no need for you to struggle. There is no need for you to struggle. When you recognize that there is no need for you to struggle, then you are in harmony with the universe. To believe you have no lack, to believe in your state of grace, you are in harmony when you believe that you have no lack. You are in harmony when you believe in your state of grace. But while you believe even one person is against you, if you believe even one person is against you, you are not in concert with God. You are not in agreement with love if you believe that even one person is against you. So you are going to be helped by your inner guide. We have guides that help us to achieve this loving state of consciousness. So don't get overwhelmed by what I'm saying, because you are not alone in transforming and changing your mind. While you believe even one person is against you, you're not in concert with God. While you believe fate works against you, while you believe that life is working against you, or while you believe that fate is working against you, that means you're not in concert with the universe. You're not in concert with the universe. You're not in harmony with the universe. You're not flowing with the universe while you believe that everything is working against you. These attitudes, believing that fate works against you, believing that there is someone who is against you, these attitudes confirm a continuing belief in your separated and vulnerable state. So whenever I tell myself that everything is working against me, life is out to get me, whenever I tell myself that there's even one person that's against me, I'm just trying to confirm my belief that I am separate. I'm just trying to confirm my belief that I'm separate from love and separate from God. When I focus on even one person being against me, and when I feel like life is against me, I'm just trying to confirm myself as just being a separate being and not a being that's in oneness and in unity. So during the time of tenderness, this is what you want to learn. This is what you're going to learn. Do you know? Would you like to know what you're going to learn in the time of tenderness? You will learn how? Through the practice of devotion. Okay, what are you going to learn through the practice of devotion, Raj? You're going to learn to identify and reject all such attitudes. Okay, what are the attitudes that I'm going to identify and reject? The attitudes that I'm going to identify and reject is the attitude of there's somebody against me and that fate is working against me. I'm going to identify where I have these attitudes. I'm going to reject these attitudes, and that's going to allow me to adopt an attitude of invulnerability. So what is an attitude of invulnerability? It is this attitude. It's the attitude that there's nobody against me and life isn't against me. There's nobody really against me and fate is not against me. That is what creates a state of invulnerability that keeps you from being hurt. Okay. Now we're on paragraph 13 in chapter 25. Paragraph 13. So it says in that first line, an attitude of invulnerability is necessary now. So what is the attitude of invulnerability? The attitude of invulnerability is there's nobody against me and fate is not against me. It's not arrogance or a means by which to flirt with risk or danger. It's simply the truth. It's simply your reality. Now, during this time of tenderness, do you know that you might feel vulnerable? So while you're in this new phase of learning, you may feel vulnerable, even though you are invulnerable. But the time of tenderness is a time of healing. So when you say, I'm being tender with you, you're really saying there is a healing going on with you. I'm experiencing a healing with you, is me feeling tenderness with you. And then it says in paragraph 13, as you are healed, you will realize that you are no longer vulnerable to being wounded. So how can a person tell when they're healing? The way that you can tell when you're healing, Raj, is that you will no longer feel like anybody can hurt you. When you know that you're really healing, you won't feel like anybody can really hurt you. That's the time of tenderness. And as you are healed, it says you will realize you are no longer vulnerable to being wounded. So, fear of being wounded, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, has kept you from engaging in life. So what is it that keeps a person from engaging in life? A fear of being physically hurt, a fear of being mentally hurt, a fear of being emotionally hurt, and a fear of being spiritually hurt. That's what's kept you from engaging with life. Being healed and recognizing your own state of being healed, and recognizing your own state of healing, being healed and recognizing your own state of being healed is a key purpose of the time of tenderness. What is the key purpose of the time of tenderness? The key purpose of the time of tenderness is being healed and recognizing your own state of being healed. Do you realize that you cannot realize your true identity while you hang on to wounds of any kind? You cannot realize who you really are while you hang on to hurts of any kind. You will not realize the unlimited, incredible being that you really are as long as you hang on to wounds of any kind. Do you know that all wounds are evidence of your belief that you can be attacked and hurt? Your wounds witness to you trying to convince yourself that you can be attacked and you can be hurt. You have not necessarily seen disappointment as attack or hopelessness as hurt, but you do feel that disappointment and hopelessness, you feel these emotions as wounds. While you think you can remain disappointed, while you think that you can remain disillusioned, you will not be invulnerable. While I think that I can remain disappointed, while I think that I can remain disillusioned, I will not be invulnerable. I want to be invulnerable. I want to not to be able to be hurt. So how do I pull that off? I have to let go of the idea that I'm going to remain disappointed. I have to let go of the idea that I will be disillusioned. It says there is always behind every disappointment, behind every disillusion, behind every attack, behind every hurt, a person you believe acted toward you without love. Any kind of hurt that you are going through, Earl, any kind of hurt that you are going through, my mighty companion, it's because you believe that somebody treated you in an unloving way. Every kind of hurt is based on you believing that somebody has treated you in an unloving way. Every bit of hurt of any kind that you are going through right now is because you believe that somebody has acted towards you without love. And the person that's acted towards you without love is just a person that's acted towards you in some form of fear. So while you believe feelings of lack of love come from anywhere but inside yourself, you are not going to be able to not be hurt. If you want to be a person that cannot be hurt, the way that that's going to eventually happen is that you're going to tell yourself that whenever you have any feelings of lack of love, it's coming from inside you. All feelings of lack of love are coming from inside of me. All my feelings that I'm not loved, it's actually coming from inside me. If I was to believe that all my feelings are coming from inside me, I could never be hurt. If you want to make sure you can never be hurt, you want to begin to incorporate the belief, Earl, that any kind of lack of love that seems to be coming to you from anywhere is coming from you, from within yourself. And then you will not be vulnerable. You will not be able to be hurt. I'm glad, June, that you need this lesson tonight. CJ says, holy shiitake, holding on to any wounds, physical, mental, emotional, social, or spiritual, hides my true identity from me. I don't like that at all. Damn, I don't like that at all either. So also, imagine if I responded to every fear and doubt simply with the statement, I am one with God and nothing is against me. That's right. That's a perfect response. Nothing is against you. Thank you, Justin, for sending me out to love. I love you too, brother. And CJ also said, I still have a belief that I have struggled in areas of my life. Thus, I can say that I am not yet in full harmony with the universe and God, but I am willing to come to harmony and to be devoted to the one. So this is absolutely true. This is absolutely true. So let's go to chapter 25, paragraph 14. It says, a realization of your invulnerability is not necessary in terms of use, but in terms of service. That means that those who claim invulnerability and use their invulnerability as a test of fate or an excuse to challenge the mighty forces of humanity or nature will eventually lose the game they play. So if you claim that you can't be hurt and then you go around doing stupid things to test that, then you're going to lose the game that you're playing. True invulnerability can only be claimed by those who recognize that true invulnerability is a part of their true identity. In other words, when I recognize that I am spirit, when I recognize that I am a light being, when I recognize that I am a light being, a spiritual being, then that's when I'll have true invulnerability and I won't be able to be hurt. So when you know who you are, invulnerability will then serve you and your brothers and your sisters. Its service is one of conquering fear and allowing love to rule. Use your sense of invulnerability to conquer fear. Use your sense of invulnerability to allow love to rule in your life, because Earl, if you're not afraid that you will be hurt, you won't be afraid to love. If you know you can't be hurt, you won't be afraid to love. If you know that who and what you really are cannot be hurt, then you will not be afraid of love, and you will not be afraid to extend love. In paragraph 15, chapter 25, it says, involvement flows from participation and involvement flows from engagement. While it may conjure up notions of joining movements or parties or of making social contributions, actually pure joining is its own objective. The first joining comes from within, and it is putting into practice the lessons of joining mind and heart in wholeheartedness. So we're going to practice the lessons of joining mind and heart in wholeheartedness. Take a breath. Take a breath. Involvement flows from participation and engagement. Involvement flows from participation and engagement. The first joining comes from within. The first joining comes from within. The first joining is putting into practice the lessons, put in practice the lessons of joining the mind and the heart. Join your mind and heart in wholeheartedness. Join your mind and heart in wholeheartedness now. Lots of hugs to you, Elizabeth. Chapter 25, paragraph 16. The first joining is a choice made from love without regard for the personal self. So the first joining is you beginning to live from love when the personal self gets out of the way. When your personal ego gets out of the way, when your personal self gets out of the way, that's when you begin to live from love. When your personal ego self gets out of the way, that's when you begin to live from love. And when the personal self gets out of the way, in any instance, it's a turning point. So what is a turning point in your spiritual development? When it's no longer all about you. When it's no longer all about you, the little you, the you that thinks you're separate. The you that thinks you're listening to this. When it's no longer all about you, when it's no longer all about the personal self, A Course of Love says that's the turning point. When it's not all about you, it is the signal that you're ready to live from love. When I'm interested in your good as much as I'm interested in my good, when I want you to be happy as well as me to be happy, then I am now at the turning point. That's the signal that I'm ready to live from love. It won't be all about my little personal self. This is what this course is about. This course is about learning how to live from love. Living from love is what will reverse the lessons of pain that you've gone through in the past. Living from freedom. Living from love means living from freedom. Living from love means living from freedom. Reversing the lessons of the past is what will allow you to live in love. Reversing the lessons of what's gone is what will allow you to live from freedom in every instance. Every instance. Paragraph 17, chapter 25 says, living in love in every instance is what occurs when the whole self is involved in the love of life. So you're living in love when your whole self is involved in loving life. When your whole self is involved with loving life, you're living from love. That means that there are no parts of yourself that are fractioned off and holding resentments. When you're living from love, when you're living from the wholeness of yourself, Raj, then that means that there are no parts of yourself that are fractioned off and holding resentments. That means there are no parts of yourself that's living in the past. That means there's no part of yourself that's living in the future. That means there is not a mindful self living separate from a soulful self. It means there is not a worker self living separately from a prayerful self. It means that all parts of yourself are joined in wholeheartedness. That's living in love. The one self, your one self, our one self, is solely involved in living love. And as you begin to live love, now this is going to be very powerful to hear. So I would invite you right now to really be present. Be present, Raj. Be present, Raj. Hear this, Raj. Be present, my mighty companion. Hear this, my mighty companion. Come in. When you start truly living from love, a reverse of what you might expect to happen will happen. In other words, while you may expect that everything will take on greater importance when you're living from love, the reverse will at first be true. That means that when you first start living from love, you will see little in what you do that matters. When you start to first get glimmerings of living from love, you will say that there's not much of what you're doing that really matters. You start to say, well, nothing of what I'm doing really matters. That's the first thing that you're going to say when you start living from love. You may wonder why you are unconcerned about many of the things you have been concerned about previously. When you first start living from love, you may find yourself not concerned about the things you used to be concerned about. When you first start living from love, it may even look like your life has less purpose rather than your life seeming like it has more purpose. You may begin to wonder what to do. When you really start living from love, you might really start wondering, what is it that I'm here to do? You may begin to wonder what to do when you first start living from love. You will almost certainly question what you are doing for a living. When you first start living from love and you first start to really wake up, one of the things that you're going to do is question what you're doing for a living. So if you're at the point right now, Raj, and my mighty companion that's listening, if you're at the point right now that you are questioning what you're doing for a living, you got a lot of questions about what you're doing for a living, that means you are beginning to live love. You may question a lot of your patterns. You may question a lot of your habits when you start to truly live from love. What's really happening is that there's an unlearning taking place. So when you first start living from love, listen to me now, Raj, listen to me. Mighty companion, listen to me. When you first start living from true love, when you first start living from true love, it may feel frustrating. It may be tinged with anxiety, anger, confusion, perplexity, even rage. When you first start living from love and unlearning your past learnings, you may feel rage. You will doubt that these are the proper feelings of a person living love. You're going to say, I'm supposed to be living love, and I am more frustrated, I have more anxiety, I'm more angry, I'm more confused, I'm more perplexed than any time I've ever been in my life. You may feel like you're not having the loving spiritual feelings that you're supposed to feel when you're being spiritual. Yet, what you are feeling are the common feelings that people go through when they are unlearning, and you need to accept that while you are unlearning fear, while you are unlearning your ego, while you are letting go of the things that hurt you, while you are just now starting to live love, you are going to feel frustration, anxiety, anger, confusion, perplexity, and even rage. And you're going to doubt that you're being as loving as you ought to be a spiritual person. But these are the feelings that you have when you are in the unlearning process. So accept that. You're not going to always feel good. You're not going to always feel good in the first stages of learning to truly love and be free. You're not going to always feel good, Raj. You're not going to always feel good, Raj. You will learn that while some things you have done and will continue to do may not matter, they may still be done with patience, grace, and love. You may feel like what you're doing in your life and what you're doing in your living right now don't matter, but you still do it. And you do it with patience, grace, and love, but you still go ahead and do it. You still go ahead and do the things that you're normally doing to take care of yourself, or to be allowing yourself to be taken care of, Earl. And even though you may be feeling the frustration and the rage in the first stages of really being loving, do it with patience, grace, and love. You will learn that other things you have done, beliefs you have held, patterns and habits that have occupied you will not accompany you into your life of love. You're going to leave behind a lot of patterns and habits. They're not going to continue with you on your spiritual path. So let's see what we have here now while we breathe that in. Jennifer says she's been having those feelings. Shanae said, thank you. You're welcome. CJ, I think Jesus was reading my mail. Tamsin says, amen. Karen says, yep. And CJ says, I'm here to hear. And Karen says, thank you. You are very, very welcome. Beep, beep, beep. Excuse me, personal self, ego. You're in my way. Step aside. I'm on my way to the love zone. Right on, CJ. That is absolutely true. I love the comments because it makes me feel like you all are really with me, and I love you listening because I feel your presence. So let's look at paragraph 20, chapter 25, paragraph 20. You may also notice a growth in your desire to take credit for what you have created. You may find in the first stages of living love that you're going to have the desire to take credit for what you created. And you're also going to have a desire to create something brand new. At this stage of really learning how to be loving for the first time, this desire to have a lot of credit and to create something new, that's going to be a feeling of needing to reassert yourself. This need to reassert yourself will arise as you realize that you can take no credit for your life. Realize that you can take no credit for your life. Wanting to take credit for your life is of your ego. Wanting to take credit is of your ego. Wanting to take credit is of your little special ego. When you start to wake up and live love, you will begin to want to get a lot of credit for what you're doing, and at the same time, you will want to create something brand new. This desire will come from a feeling of needing to reassert the self. This need to reassert the self is going to come up as you realize that you can take no credit for your life. Wanting to take credit is of your fearful mind. Wanting to take credit is of your ego. At this stage, the desire to create may be linked with your ego as well. That means this. It means your personal self would be looking for a place in which to reside. Your ego would be looking for a new place to live. You would have made your ego homeless, and now it's looking for a new place to live. Your ego would be looking for identity. Your ego would want to say, this is who I am. When you find yourself wanting to go, this is who I am, this is actually an exciting sign. Because what's happening with all of these feelings that I'm telling you about is that it means that your old identity is losing its hold. If you've been feeling any of the things that I've been describing, Raj, and my mighty companion, then that means that your ego is beginning to lose hold. So be patient, be patient, be patient, be patient, be patient during this time. Be patient during this time, and your new identity will emerge. If the urge to create is strong, then certainly let your urge to create serve you if your urge to create is strong. But, do not seek for praise. Do not seek for acknowledgement of your creations at this time. Let go of your need for praise and acknowledgement when you are in the first stage of learning to live real love, Raj. Let go of that need for constant strokes and constant praise and acknowledgement of your creations at this time. You will soon realize that creation is not of your personal little self or for your little personal ego self. Okay, I hear that. I hear that. Chapter 21. There will be a time of discernment. Now, what is a time of discernment? That means you may feel that you're in a time of decision making, but the less you attempt to make conscious decisions, the quicker your unlearning will take place. The less you attempt to make conscious decisions, the quicker your unlearning will take place, and the lessons of discernment will occur as you don't attempt to make conscious decisions in the first stage of living love. Discernment is needed only until you are better able to comprehend the whole. That means comprehension of the whole is actually aided by a return to the wholeness of your greater self. So comprehension of everything is helped by a return to wholeness of the self. Until wholeness of yourself is complete, Earl, discernment is necessary until the oneness of yourself and the awareness of the oneness of yourself is complete. Now, how do you practice discernment? How do you practice discernment? You practice discernment by being still, awaiting wisdom. Don't you realize that your feeling of being identityless will make decision making and choices of all kinds appear to be difficult during this time? Your feeling of not really knowing who and what you are, that's going to make decision making appear to be pretty difficult during this time of your first attempt to live love. So the fact that you're kind of unsure of who and what you really are, that's going to make decision making a little difficult. But this is what you must realize. Do you know what you must realize? You must realize, Raj, that decisions and choices are made by relying upon the very lessons that you are in the process of unlearning. That means at the same time, however, decisions and choices will seem to need to be made with increasing frequency. It's going to look like you need to have more and more decisions and more choices that need to be made during this time of learning how to live love. Your feeling of needing to make new choices is going to become really strong when you're studying this. You're going to feel this need to make new decisions about your life. You're going to feel this need to make new choices about your life as you begin to live love. Your feeling of needing to make new choices, while strong, your feelings of needing to make new choices will not necessarily reflect real need. This feeling that you think that you need to make new choices and new decisions are not really reflecting a real need. What is making you want to make all these decisions and new choices is rather your impatience with the way things are. Your impatience with the way things were. That's what's going to create your desire to make a lot of new choices and to make a lot of new decisions. It's not really coming from a real awareness of the truth. Your need to make new decisions and new choices, and you're becoming so impatient right now, is because of your dissatisfaction with the way you think things are in your life. You're trying to make decisions out of your dissatisfaction, out of the way things are in your life. You will want to force change. You will be tempted to force changes, Raj, rather than wait for change to arrive. My mighty companion, you're going to find in this stage of learning that you are going to want to force changes in your life. If you acknowledge your impatience, as a sign of readiness for change. So what is your impatience? Your impatience is a sign that you're ready for change. So every time you say you are impatient, Raj, go, oh, I'm feeling impatient. That means I'm ready for change. Wow, I'm feeling impatient. I'm feeling impatient. I am ready for change. I'm feeling impatient. I am ready for change. That's why I feel impatient. I feel impatient because I'm so ready for change. So tell yourself that your impatience is a sign that you're ready for change, but that doesn't necessarily require action on your part. Just because you're ready for change, it doesn't require action on your part. Just because you're ready for change, it doesn't mean you need to take any action. Just because you're ready for change doesn't always mean you need to take any action. Just because you're ready for change and feeling impatient, it doesn't mean you need to necessarily require any act. It doesn't necessarily require action on your part. You will feel some relief. So if you want to feel some relief, tell yourself, I am feeling impatient. I am feeling impatient. That means I am ready for change. I am ready for change. But it doesn't necessarily mean I need to do a doggone thing right now. But it doesn't mean that I necessarily need to take any kind of action. I know I'm ready for change, but I don't need to necessarily take any kind of action. That will give you some relief. Impatience, Olga says, impatience means that I'm ready for change. And Karen says, no forcing that don't work. CJ says, woohoo, I am impatient. I am ready for change. I am ready for change. I need do nothing. When I get into do mode to create change, it is really evidence that I am impatient to allow things to process simply through living and being in this now with love. That's right, CJ. Karen says, solitude help my finding focus. And Olga says, do not seek for praise. Wanting to take credit is of the fearful mind. Linda says, when you hear Jesus say, I forgive you, then you feel real, real love. And that is absolutely true. Shanae says, I accept unlearning and all its unpleasantries. I know that's right. Jennifer says, having these feelings. That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Paragraph 23. Paragraph 23. Let me see how much more we have. Okay, we're not too far from the end. I'm going to complete this. So just hang in there with me until we complete this. We should be completing this within the next 10 to 15 minutes. Paragraph 23 says, you will want to force change. 22 says, you will want to force change rather than wait for change to arrive. If you acknowledge your impatience as a sign of readiness for change, your impatience is a sign of readiness for change. If you acknowledge that, then also acknowledge that just because you're ready for change doesn't mean you need to necessarily take any action right now. Chapter 25, paragraph 23 says, when action is seen to be necessary, this is exactly when a time of stillness is needed. So right now, if it looks like you need to do some big action because you're feeling so impatient, you need to just know. No. A time of quietness and a time of stillness is needed. You might think of this time of stillness, think of this time of quietness as a time of consulting with who? The quiet time is a time of consulting with your new identity. You're getting in touch with your real self, your real spiritual identity. You're learning how to live love. If you do the things that were suggested this evening and in this particular video, in this time together, then what you're going to realize is that when you're feeling this need to do great action because you think you need to make all these new decisions and choices because you feel impatient with the way things are, what you should do, Raj, is be quiet and realize this is a time for you to consult with your new identity. This is a time for you to consult with your higher self. This is a time for you to consult with God. This is a time for you to consult with the Holy Spirit. simply sitting quietly and posing the question, sitting quietly and posing the concern that is in need of appropriate action will suffice. Be quiet and then talk to your higher self and ask the question, the thing that you need to get an answer about. When an answer comes to you, what should you do when an answer comes to you? When an answer comes to you, acknowledge that it is an answer from your new identity. And when the answer comes to you, express your appreciation for the answer when it comes to you. While you will at times doubt, you're going to doubt at times that you've even received an answer. You're going to doubt at times you've even received an answer, or you're going to doubt at times, Raj, that the answer that you received is correct. Sometimes you're going to doubt if even the answer that you've received is correct. You will soon learn to trust this quiet process of discernment. I know at first there are going to be doubts about the guidance and whether or not the guidance is true, but the truth is, if you keep doing it, you're going to learn to trust this quiet process of discernment. You will know you have succeeded. You will know. How will you know when you have succeeded? You will know you have succeeded when you truly feel as if you have turned the question or concern over and allowed it to be responded to in a new way. You know you've succeeded when you really feel in your heart that you have really released it. You have really turned this issue over to God. You have really turned this issue over to your spiritual and true self. When you'll feel that. You know when you're still holding on to the concern and the question and trying to handle it yourself. You'll know when you've really given it up and surrendered. When you are guided to act in ways that are contrary to usual patterns of action you've taken in the past, you're going to meet resistance when someone tells you to do something different from the way you've done it in the past. So when you get new instructions like you're getting right now, that's telling you to do things different from the way you've done it in the past, Raj, try to be lighthearted at such times. Try to remember it really doesn't matter, so you just as well try the new way. It really doesn't matter, so go ahead and try the new way that you're learning. It really doesn't matter. Be more lighthearted. Have more fun with this. Remind yourself you have nothing to lose. Remind yourself you have nothing to lose. Remind yourself you have nothing to lose, so you just as well really try using the information and the guidance that you're receiving. You will soon learn that you really have nothing to lose. You will also soon realize why this time of engagement with life is necessary. You're going to realize more and more, Raj, why you've got to stay engaged in life right now. Mighty companion, you're going to realize more and more why you must remain engaged right now. Experience is necessary to complete the cycle of unlearning. Though you know that experience is necessary to complete the cycle of unlearning the fear, unlearning the wrong thought system that we've been using in the past that makes us feel guilty and angry and afraid. We have to have experience. Experience is necessary to complete the cycle of unlearning. And last paragraph, check this out. Being fully engaged with life while taking the time for discernment is not common. It's not common for people to be fully engaged with life and at the same time learning discernment. It's putting action before stillness, putting activity before rest is seen as synonymous with a full life. We must therefore speak a bit of what a full life is. And that's what we're going to do next week in our gathering. We're going to speak a bit of what a full life is, which is chapter 26, the full life in A Course of Love. So you might want to really take the time to read that. I'm going to come back and we're going to do some takeaways, and I'm going to kind of pull this all together for us tonight. I want to thank you for being here with me and being a part of this Course of Love gathering. I appreciate those of you who, to support my teaching ministry, go to my website, www.earlpurdy.com, and you share financial expressions of appreciation. I really, really, really appreciate you. And you are totally appreciated even if you don't do that. But I truly appreciate that as a full-time teacher. Also, I'm really going to emphasize again that I do one-on-one sessions called clarity sessions. And over 30 years, I've been doing this in order to help people do the practical application of these ideas. So if there's a situation or a circumstance that you would like to get support on in another way of looking at it, then I'm available for my clarity sessions. And I've got literally hundreds of videos that are available of my classes for free on my website and also on YouTube. If you go to my website, it explains the services that I offer. And I love astrology and numerology. It's also a spiritual path that I've used because at the higher level, that's what they are. And the Course in Miracles and the Truth Teachings and the Way of Mastery, they all teach that what we have made, what we have learned, can be used to free us. Remember at the very beginning it said, you know, where you learned distrust, you're going to learn trust. Where you learned fear, it's where you're going to learn love. So whatever you have learned, that what you have learned is going to be used as a means of awakening. So I want to offer to you all the skills that I have available. Okay, and also go to A Course of Love .org to get more information about the Course of Love. And the music that I played was from my good brother, John Christmas. So for that music, just go to www.johnchristmas.com because we are so blessed to have all of the support that we're getting on so many levels. And thank you so much for being here and joining with me, mighty companion. So let's get, if any of you have any kind of takeaways that you would like to share, that would be great. But the main thing right now is to recognize that you're in a time of tenderness. You're in a time of tenderness. I think one of the most important things that you need to hear, and I need to hear, I'm going to say paragraph 24 in chapter 25. When you are guided to act in ways that are contrary to usual patterns of action that you've taken in the past, you will often feel resistance. Don't you know when you get these new instructions and new ideas that you will often feel resistance when you hear something totally different from what you believe? It's normal that you are going to feel resistance. You are going to feel resistance. It is normal to feel resistance. Don't get upset because you feel resistance. Try to be lighthearted. Try to be lighthearted. It's okay to be sincere but not serious. Be sincere but not too serious. Be sincere and not too serious. Be sincere but not too serious. Be sincere and not too serious. Remember, ultimately it doesn't matter. Ultimately it doesn't matter because you have already been saved by God. You can't lose the love of God. Everything's going to be all right. 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 So it really doesn't matter ultimately because everything's going to be all right. So you just as well try the new ways because everything's going to be all right. Remind yourself there's nothing to lose. Remind yourself you have nothing to lose. I 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 have nothing to lose. You 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 have nothing to lose. You're going to learn that there's no such thing as loss for a child of God. You're going to learn one day that there is no way you can possibly lose. You're going to learn one day that everything is for your own best interest. You're going to learn one day that everything is for your own best interest. Don't forget that whatever you think is missing is what you haven't given. Don't forget that whatever you think is missing is what you haven't given. Don't forget that when you're feeling a lack of love, it's coming from within yourself. And don't forget that when you feel like somebody's not loving you, it just means you want to get. You're innocent, but it just means you want to get. I'm going to say this to you, Raj. Engagement with life is necessary. I say engagement with life is necessary. Your engagement with life, your participation with life, your being present is necessary. Rita says, so beyond grateful to you for all your devotion and service as a true expression of love. Thank you so very much. Leslie says, when you are in fear, it means that you feel like you are missing something. That is right. So whenever you're feeling fear, it means that you think that you are missing something. Cheryl says, we are on the final learning ground. That's right. CJ says, my biggest takeaway is that as a part of this journey, the most important thing I can do is be still and allow. Be still and allow. When you're feeling impatience, just say to yourself that my impatience means I'm ready to change. It means I'm ready to change. My impatience means that I'm ready to change. But don't do nothing until you sit down quietly and ask your true identity what to do. Woo! This was a good one tonight. I love you. I'm so glad that I was here with you. My ego's trying to strangle me now because I said all this loving stuff. Mighty companions, thank you for coming online, and thank you for being here live. Spread the word. Wow, look at it. Shut up, Earl. I want you to stop talking this truth. It's not going to work. So, Thursday nights at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, A Course of Love. 7 p.m. Tuesday nights, Mountain Time, with me, The Way of Mastery. 1 p.m. Mountain Time on Sundays, A Course in Miracles. I'm here to serve. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you. And may the course be with you. I love you all. You are blessings in my life.